Lavine gets away from Bogdanovich. Oh! Give me the hot sauce. 39 in the first half.
As I record this video, Zach Lavine has scored 39 points in the first half of this game against the Atlanta Hawks. And while the headlines tonight will be about this game and Zach Lavine's performance, I think it's time to actually start talking about how good Zach Lavine actually is. Just how good is Zach Lavine? Just to give some context for who Zach Lavine is, Zach Lavine is Chicago Bulls 6'5" shooting guard, a player that they acquired in 2017 through a trade when they traded away Jimmy Butler to the Minnesota Timberwolves in exchange for Zach Lavine, Chris Dunn, and Lauri Markkanen. Before we even talk about his 2021 season, let's just be honest, Zach Lavine wasn't even supposed to be as good as he was in 2020. Zach Lavine was a late lottery pick in his draft. Zach Lavine, when he was drafted to the Minnesota Timberwolves, was viewed as a third fiddle to Andrew Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns. The main reason Zach Lavine got traded was A, because again he was a third fiddle to those two, but B, he tore his ACL. And in his time in Chicago, not only has Zach Lavine returned tremendously well from a major injury like a torn ACL, but he has by far exceeded everyone's expectations when it came to how good Zach Lavine was supposed to be. Because last season, in the 2020 season, Zach Lavine transformed into a 25-26 point per game scorer on relatively good efficiency. And Zach Lavine is a face of a franchise. That is extremely impressive. And for the people who thought that the 2020 season where they averaged 25 points a game was just a fluke, clearly not, because this year he proved to be even better. As in the 2021 season, Zach Lavine is averaging roughly 27 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds on 51% shooting from the field, 42% from 3, and 85% from the line. And this is not just in the first 15 games of the season, first 20 games of the season. He is shooting at this efficiency, at this clip, at this volume, 49 games into this season. And tonight's game probably even helped his averages even more, and you can look back on Basketball Reference tomorrow and the numbers will probably be better. Zach Lavine has transformed into one of the best scorers in the league, period. I don't know how you can look at Zach Lavine, whether that be through watching him play or looking at his stats, where you can say that Zach Lavine is not an elite scorer. He is. As a matter of fact, if you look at the best scorers this season, there are only 2 players that have averaged above 25 points a game and have shot above 50% from the field and 40% from 3. Those 2 being Nikola Jokic, the guy that people are saying right now is the front runner for MVP, who's also a center, so shooting above 50% from the field is kind of like expected from Nikola Jokic. And the only other guy is Zach Lavine. Now, there are some other guys that come close. Kyrie Irving is averaging 28 points on 51% from the field and 39.8% from 3. Kawhi Leonard is averaging around 26 points a game on 51% from the field and 39% from 3. And if you want to include them, go ahead. But either way, that still doesn't take away from the fact that Zach Lavine is in a very elite club this season and just in general. Now, if you look on my screen right now, this is from a video I made back in November about the top 50 players in the NBA. Now, mind you, this was a list going into this season. And I know there's going to be a lot of disagreements with it. That's fine. And especially the current season will change this list. If I made this list right now, it would be completely different. However, I still would say that the top 25 players are still around the same names. And I feel like with the way Zach Lavine is playing this year, I think after this season, he deserves to be closer to top 25 than the latter of this top 50. Because he's definitely better than Kemba Walker. He's definitely better than Pascal Siakam. He's better than Jamal Murray. He's better than a lot of players ahead of him. I'm gonna just be honest. He's better than a lot of players ahead of him. As a matter of fact, 2 videos ago, I literally made an unpopular opinion where I said I believe that Zach Lavine is better than Karl Anthony Towns, and I still stand by that. Now, the biggest knock on Zach Lavine's game is definitely defense. He is average at best on the defensive end. And I think the next question we should ask is, what is Zach Lavine's ceiling? It's hard to put numbers on it, and you can't really be 100% accurate with it, but I'm more so trying to answer the question of, can he be a #1 option on a championship team? And in my personal opinion, I don't think he can. Because the players that you can say can be #1 options on a championship team We're talking about generational talent type of players. LeBron, Kawhi, Anthony Davis, Steph Curry, Giannis, James Harden, Kevin Durant. If you want to extend that to Embiid, to Jokic, heck, if you want to extend that to Luka, these are still generational talent type of players. And for me to crown Zach Lavine that is jumping the gun a little bit too much. However, as a second or third option, now we're talking. Especially given the fact that Zach Lavine is pretty decent off ball. He doesn't completely need the ball in his hands at all times to be effective. But let's say hypothetically a majority of Zach Lavine's career, he is a number one option. The next question is, what is the ceiling of a team being led by Zach Lavine? And when I say this, mind you, I am a person that's very high on Zach Lavine, okay? I'm a Zach Lavine fan. But a team being led by Zach Lavine, I believe, is a second round exit max. I think the best way to build around Zach Lavine would be like what the Phoenix Suns are doing, surrounding him with really good defensive pieces, really good spacing, and an elite playmaker right beside him. But even with the Phoenix Suns playing tremendous this year through that, let's be honest, for the most part, Chris Paul is considered the best player on the Phoenix Suns. And I've had a lot of conversations with people saying that Mike Conley is now better than Donovan Mitchell. Heck, there's still a crowd that believes that Rudy Gobert is still the best player on that team, which I'm not completely disagreeing with. But in terms of answering the question of what is the ceiling of a team being led by a player like Zach Lavine, where he is the clear-cut best player, I do think there's a low ceiling on that. For that ceiling to be higher, he needs to be with pieces that are arguably better than him. One thing, however, to keep a really keen eye on is that contract. I don't think a lot of people realize that next year is a contract year for Zach Lavine. And it's going to be very interesting to see how Zach Lavine handles his situation. Will he stay with the Chicago Bulls and try to be the franchise player of this team, take them to the promised land? Or will he request a trade on a contract year so the Chicago Bulls can get something in return for him, and a team can bite on him with the hopes of trying to impress him in that 1 year, try to re-sign him for the long term? Or will Zach Lavine just ride it out, keep the Chicago Bulls on his toes, and just walk away in free agency, go to a more competitive team, and do it that way? Mind you, he is 26 years old, entering his prime, and especially in this era and around this time in players' careers, both in number of seasons in the league and age-wise, people want to be competing for a championship. So keep a lookout on Zach Lavine. He might not even be a Bull by the end of next season. But with that being said, if Zach Lavine can prove me wrong, bro. I am a big Zach Lavine fan, and I'm going to keep watching him play. But with that being said, I'm out. Peace.